Hi. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I guess it's not morning for most of you, but it's still 10 a.m. for me, so good morning. Today we have exciting things to talk about. It's going to take us a while. I have a lot of notes because today we're going to talk about fear and how you overcome that so that you can live your dreams of traveling. And it's just a huge topic. There's so much to talk about, so let's just get going here. So why is it so important to overcome fear? Sometimes when you hear something that really hits you, sticks with you, changes your life. That happened to me about 6 or 7 years ago. I was just scrolling on Facebook one day, and I came across a Will Smith video. He was talking about his skydiving experience, and he was like, they had to push me, and I was falling, and then, when I finally was like falling, I had this moment of just pure peace. And he said those moments of pure bliss are on the other side of fear. And that really stuck with me because I really think it's true. I've said that in some of my videos, and it's just like I heard that 6 or 7 years ago, and it really changed my life. So we have to work through fear because on the other side of it are some really great things. And the fear itself is always worse than the thing we're actually afraid of. You notice that? All the psyching yourself up about it and getting in your own head, everything you think could go wrong always ends up being way worse than the actual experience, right? Have you noticed that? I certainly have. So we get all psyched up, and for what? It's never even that bad. Most of the time, fear is irrational anyways. We're afraid of things that aren't necessarily real, even. Like Jeepers Creepers. Can't tell you how many times I watch a Jeepers Creepers video and then have to go up to the barn at night, and it's like, oh. Right? A lot of fear isn't even practical. And I say this all the time, I'll say it again, and I will stand by it. Most people in the world are good people. So, but we're still human, and we're still going to have fear. So how can we work through it? How can we work with this human emotion that we're going to have? Well, first thing you need to do, you need to interrupt it. You need to have a way to interrupt that fear thought. Mel Robbins, you've probably seen the videos circulating lately because I've seen them a ton. She says, count back from 5. If you have anxiety, count backward from 5. That's your interruption. If you're like me, that doesn't work for you, but maybe it will work for you because it works for a lot of people she helps. The first thing you need to do is interrupt it. And you can have a lot of things. Maybe you have something in your pocket that you pull out and you read it. You have something comforting in your pocket that you pull out and you read it in a moment when you're fearful. Or maybe you have a comfort item. In the past, my comfort item was my rosary. And in moments when I was just afraid, it helped me to remember God's with me, to physically have something with me. Okay, so it's not just for kids, stuffed animals or their little blankies. Adults can have adult versions of those things too. It's okay. So distracting yourself from it those items, pulling something comforting out of your pocket, they help to distract you in that moment from it, to interrupt the thought. And then once you interrupt it, you have to insert something else. So this is where I like to do breathing techniques. And the thing with breathing techniques is they work better in those moments if you practice them outside of those moments. Does that make sense? Everybody following me here? So, consistent practice is what leads to better anxiety management for these breathing techniques. And there's different ways you can practice breathing. I personally do what's called a box style. So I inhale for a count of 5, I hold for a count of 5, I exhale for a count of 5. And that for me is hard to do, which is why it works for me. I'm forcing myself to breathe in a way that I don't want to breathe, and it's taking control and it's calming myself back down. And also counting in general just calms me down. I could just sit here and count to 100, it would calm me down. I don't know why, but I like to count. But there are some other techniques. There's equal breathing, where you just breathe in and breathe out for the same count. There's diaphragm breathing, where you put your hands on your torso, like one here, one here. And you feel that rise and fall as you're breathing. There's alternative nostril breathing, where you like close and only breathe one side at a time. It's supposed to help with rebalancing the body. That doesn't work for me because I have trouble breathing through my nose. But there's different kinds of techniques. But the point is, practice them even when you're not anxious or scared, because your body will handle it better in moments when you are doing them. If you're used to doing them, get used to doing them, practicing them, get comfortable with them. Okay, so I'm gonna go on. I've got 10 tips here for just some general things I think people are most commonly afraid of when it comes to travel, and some specific things on getting over them. So I've got 10 tips on that for you, and then afterwards I have some gadgets. 5 safety gadgets, especially for people who travel alone and want to feel just a little extra. They're all really cheap on Amazon. And then at the end, I got some quotes for you. Maybe one of these quotes is what you put in your pocket. I know one of them is a personal go-to for me. And then we're all going to take a pledge that we're not going to be afraid. Okay? So just to give you a rundown what we're getting into here. Alright. So safety tip number 1. Stay in populated areas near other people. Okay? That's not always possible. I like to go camping, and I like to go camping when there are no other people there. I like to go alone. But I still have safety measures in place that I use. But generally, if you're going to a city or an event or something, stay in populated areas. I camp by myself in places where I'm familiar, but I don't necessarily camp in the middle of nowhere when I'm out of state or somewhere new. I like camping because usually I'm staying, I'm sorry, I hope that didn't, I have my handy dandy mic here that was like $10 on Amazon. I keep hitting it though. What I like about campgrounds is that there's so many other people there. And like I said, most people are good people. So, most people, if you need something, you're generally pretty safe with people around. So stay in populated areas near other people if you're not comfortable being out there alone. And if you're like, well, I don't have anybody else to go with, well, join a Facebook group. When I first started hiking by myself years ago, I joined lots of Facebook groups for people for women, mostly in my area, who would get together and hike. And they don't know each other. There were like 1,000 people in this group, but somebody would say, oh, I'm going out for the weekend. And some other people would say, oh, I can come. There are groups out there, look into one. Be safe, always. But maybe make some new friends to go do things with. If you are alone, be aware of what you're portraying, okay? Posture is everything. Don't try to be small and hide and be like, don't see me, don't see me. Stand up, have that bold, confident, don't mess with me attitude. And it's okay if you don't really feel like that, like you're that type of person. What you can do in your head is create that person. I don't know, how old are the people in this group? Do you remember the TV show Yu-Gi-Oh? And he had this other persona that would come in and fight his battles for him when he was losing. Create that in your head. It's called a success character. Some people call it a success character. Step into that in moments when you have to. I do it at work all the time. I'm an introvert. I hate talking to people. I hate being on the phone. I have had terrible anxiety with having to make phone calls at work, which I do 24/7. It's a huge part of my job. I spent my entire shift stepped into my success character. Create that. Get it in your head who you are going to be when you're alone and portray that confidence. Okay, so just things like posture, even. I used to walk a mile in the dark across town when I was in college because I had to park on the other side of town because I was a freshman. I would pretend to be on the phone at night. I felt safer doing that. I mean, if you can really be on the phone, really go ahead, be on the phone, call somebody. It'll make you feel better. It will, really. But if you can't, even just pretending to be on the phone, it's fine. I think it'll help deter people. Not that I think anybody would mess with you anyways, but things do occasionally happen. We should be prepared and aware. Definitely be cautious of the information you're directly giving people, but also the things that they can obviously obtain when they look at you. Alright? So I have a ring now, so I always pretend to be married. I'm getting married next month, so it's not a far stretch for me, but if you don't have a ring and you feel like saying, oh no, my husband's around here somewhere, or my wife's around here somewhere, and you feel like that would make you feel a little better to have that lie, I have seen tips from other people where they wear fake rings for this reason, because people don't question it because they see a ring. So that's one of those things where it's information that you don't directly give somebody, whether you're married or not, but they can look and obviously see it, Maybe not have a keychain of like your hometown and people are like, oh, are you from such and such? Maybe not the safest thing to do. I don't put any stickers on my car personally. I'm not saying you can't have stickers on your car, but stickers that say I've got kids, or I've got dogs, or I'm a gun owner, or I'm an ATV girl. I think those all just make you targets, really. Personally, I don't put stickers on my car for that reason. Other than I have one that says Jesus. Okay. My third point is you have to get rid of the victim mindset. So I talked about this in point 1. Stay in populated areas near other people, join groups. If you're not doing that, you have to get rid of the victim mindset. One of the hardest things, if you're a really nice, soft-spoken person, is to let yourself be not that way sometimes. Don't ever let anybody guilt you about your own comfort or boundaries, okay? Most of the time, people are just friendly. I will say I do get hit on more than I would like to. And I just am like walking past and they just like approach. And how many times can I not give you my number before you quit asking and, go away? So there are moments when I really just want to say, buddy, I'm not interested, get out of here. And I'm a little too nice to be that direct. So this is something I'm personally working on, is to get a little less friendly sometimes. It's okay. It is better to be safe than dead. And maybe they were just being friendly, and maybe they'll be like, oh, I was just being nice, just being polite, and jeez, it didn't even mean anything. Don't let them guilt you by saying things like that. You set your boundaries, you establish that you're not interested. It's okay. You don't know that person, you don't know them anything. It's okay to be a little crazy sometimes. I actually follow one woman on Instagram who really, what does she call it? A villain life coach. And I still think most people are good people, but I always want to be prepared in my mind in case they're not. If your spidey senses are going off, you don't know anybody anything. You can get as crazy as you feel you need to get to safely exit the situation. Okay, tip 4. Pay attention to your surroundings, which means thinking ahead. I can't tell you how many times I go out in the middle of the day, I come back and it's dark, and I forgot to leave a lamp on. Okay, it's a simple thing, but how often do I forget to do it? Think about that. When you're leaving, how long are you going to be gone? Do you want to leave a lamp on for when you get home? Did you close all your windows? When you do get home, have your keys in your hand, ready to get in the house. Don't be standing at the door with your back to the world, fiddling around with your keys, okay? Even my own house at home, even when I'm not traveling, when I get to the door, I swing it open and I just stand there a minute and kind of take it in before I enter my own house. But I have some less than savory characters in town currently, so. Tip number 5, and this is something I do a lot that helps me, definitely. I'm 5'10", 9 3/4, we'll round to 10. And I usually weigh between 140 and 160. I fluctuate a lot, but usually between 140 and 160, so let's say 150. So generally, just my size alone, I feel pretty safe in most situations if I'm only dealing with one person. Now, there have been times when somebody very large has entered a situation with me, and I have been very blessed in those moments to have my very large bodybuilding fiance with me, who's not aggressive at all. He just smiles and laughs, and we just kept checking and we were fine, but I definitely was grateful to have him that day. But something I do that makes me feel better because most of the time I'm traveling alone. I have committed to physical strength and improvement that makes me feel safer. I have a Beachbody membership. It's $10 a month. Love it. You have access to like hundreds of videos. One of the programs is an MMA style, and I love doing like these boxing moves. It's just so fun. Does it mean I'm a boxer? Absolutely not. Does it make me feel better that I like punch the air sometimes? Yes, it does. It makes me feel safer, that I just have got some muscle memory into like throwing punches. Also, weightlifting. I love weightlifting for this reason. It has been one of the greatest feelings of my life when I'm in the gym and I look around sometimes and I see that I'm lifting just as heavy as the guys are. It's like, yes. Not to put them down at all. I would never put anybody else down, but because everybody has a starting point, that's fine. But personally, it makes me feel very good. It makes me feel safer, really. So maybe take some safety classes. Even if you just take one and you go home and you practice some of that stuff afterwards. Tip number 6. I kind of talked about this. I said about a ring. If you don't have one and you want to think about getting one, unless you're going out to meet people, and then maybe that wouldn't help you, but I don't go out to meet people, so there have been times, definitely and sadly, when somebody asks for my number and I tell them I'm married and they don't care. They don't care at all. They have no respect for the fact I'm married. So something I used to do in college that kept me safe at parties, that I have been considering adopting in my life right now, because the whole marriage spiel has not been working well for me lately, is I just tell people I'm gay. So instead of saying my husband's around here somewhere, I'll be like, oh no, my wife's waiting for me. I used to do that in college because there was easier prey. Why would they hit on a gay person? Like, they weren't going to get anywhere with it, obviously. So I think Jesus will forgive me for lying about... I don't like to lie. I'm so bad at lying. I literally, can't do it. But if it comes down to safety, I feel like it's okay. Which is not what Christianity preaches. They say lying is bad, but I'd rather be a safe liar than a dead truth teller, I think, personally. But my face just gives me away. I'm so bad at lying. I literally, stutter and hesitate. I can't do it. Which is good, I guess. Good personality trait to have. Especially for my employer, because I can't be like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late, I had a flat tire. No, I didn't have a flat tire. I literally can't lie. Okay, that was point 6. So point 6 was, it's okay to say, it's okay to lie and say things like you're married or you're gay or whatever. If you, or your daughter's around, or you're with your parents, or I've seen videos where people they tell you to walk up to a random person in the store and pretend they're your boyfriend or something. I've never had to do that, thankfully, but like I said, most people are good people and they'll help you out. Point 7 is fear of flying. So many people are afraid to fly. My first flight, I started flying this year, actually. This is my first year flying. And fear of flying, I don't recommend starting. I didn't think I was afraid of flying, but my first flight was from the East Coast to Hawaii. It was 3 flights. It took me all day. It was like 16 hours. And it was terrible. I was sick the whole time. I had motion sickness. I had migraines. It was terrible. And after that first flight, I haven't gotten sick since. So I don't think it was motion sickness. I think it was anxiety. And if you are afraid of sickness, or you think you're going to have anxiety, you might end up getting sickness. Something that my grandma has recommended to me is Dramamine, and because I only got sick the one time, I've never had to take it, but she takes it sometimes when she goes on cruises and stuff, is Dramamine. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. Do not take medical advice from me. Always seek professional medical advice. Okay. And if you can sleep, if you have to have a long flight, first off, I don't recommend your first experience being a 16-hour all-day flights. Secondly, overnight flights, my flights from Hawaii back to the East Coast are usually overnight flights, which is great because I can sleep right through it. So if you can sleep through your flight, it'll go a lot faster. Have something downloaded for on the plane that makes you feel better, takes away your anxiety, and puts you at ease, you know? If you've got a go-to movie that makes you feel good, or music that helps you relax, or a book that you can like distract yourself. This goes back to a point I made earlier about the distraction. Interrupt that thought and put something else in it. Okay. The thing with flying is, you know, you might be on the plane for a couple hours, so you might have to continuously deal with this. So get a distraction and have something ready on the plane to help you deal with that anxiety. And this connects into point 8, actually, which is fear of cruises, which I do have. I didn't have a fear to fly, but my boyfriend has and my dad have major fears of flying. My mom and I, on the other hand, have fears of cruises. Is it gonna stop me? No, I'm still gonna go on them, but when I was a preteen, I would not even shower. I showered like once a week because I was that afraid of the water. I thought for sure I was just gonna drown if I got in the shower. I can't explain that rationally because fear is usually irrational. But to say that I have a fear of water is like an understatement. So the fact that this year I've been snorkeling and swimming in the ocean, and it's like a big deal for me. It really is. It's awesome. Loving it. And I'm going to tell you something about flying that may or may not make you feel better. It makes me feel better, so I'm going to tell you. But it might not make you feel better, so listen for the next minute with the, like, you might decide not to listen for the next minute if you're not going to risk it. But I personally think with flying, the worst part is the end. And I think of it a lot like a blood draw. I draw blood for work. I work in a lab. It's part of what I do. So a lot of times you don't feel the needle going in. You don't even feel the pinch. It's when I pull the needle out that people go, ow! That's when they feel the pinch. But at that point, the needle's out and you're done, okay? Flying is a lot like that. The takeoff, you don't feel the takeoff at all. The flight itself is really like you forget you're on a plane, and it's great. And then the landing for me is the part that I close my eyes and hold my breath and count to 10. And then it's over. If you've ever locked up your brakes driving a car, and you know how your car will kind of fishtail a little bit? You kind of go, ah! When the plane hits the runway and has their brakes on, that's what it feels like. And that gives me anxiety for all of like 10 seconds. And then it's over. We get our bags and we get off. And that makes me feel good. Okay. I like that because it's over. So you can literally close your eyes, hold your breath, count to 10, and it's done. You don't even have to count to 10. It's not even that long, but that might give you anxiety. So if it does, forget I said that. So for cruises, this is definitely something I have to get over because my boyfriend is a boat nerd. He loves boats, and in January of next year they're actually launching the newest cruise ship. The largest cruise ship is being launched in January. So I was thinking of taking him sometime next year for a late honeymoon because we're not taking a honeymoon. And so I have to get over this. And the thing about cruises is they're a lot longer than flights, right? Your flight is a couple hours, your cruise is a couple days, all right? So the same tips for flying apply to cruises. Maybe do a short one first that's only 3 days or 3 nights instead of a week. They say Dramamine helps with seasickness as well. They also say watching the horizon might help you with seasickness, and possibly getting a cabin in the middle because it rocks less in the middle might help also. So if you're afraid of seasickness, it's a slight concern for me because I do get motion sickness in cars and stuff. So these are, like I said, I haven't been on a cruise, but these are all tips I've found online that I am planning to use because I am afraid to go on a cruise. And I didn't know this, but you can actually do tours. You can go tour the ships before you get on them. And I think that's pretty awesome because it might just make me feel better to have some kind of idea what it's going to be like on a cruise ship. They say get to know your crew, meet the people who are working on the boat. I imagine that would put me at ease to know who's working on it and where everything is. So a tour and spending time getting to know my crew would probably make me feel better. And I'm going to try to remember this. Even though you're out surrounded by water, you're not just floating around, okay? It's like a car. You're A-lining for a destination. You are moving in a line to get somewhere, okay? And the people who are in charge of that are not only on the boat, but they're back on land. There's all kinds of land support. And the same is true for airplanes, okay? There's a whole team of people. There's a lot of really advanced technology. And everybody wants to be safe. Like, the first goal is never to get you there. The first goal is always safety. The second goal is to get you there. So they're not going to take you into dangerous situations. They're all experts. They want to get home just as much as you do. Okay, I had a lot of points there. Let me make sure I hit them all. Ooh, falling overboard. Okay. So this is where I said you watch a horror movie one time and think that that's gonna happen to you. Overboard accidents are rare, and they're never really accidental in terms of, like, somebody just tripped one day and went over. Somebody was doing something they shouldn't have been doing. They were on the railing or something, okay? And so from what I understand, that's not a valid concern for most people. Because it's not like a actual accident could happen unless you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing that's increasing your odds of an accident. So that, not gonna lie, that's something I am a little afraid of, but just knowing that I've never been on a ship, I don't know what precautions they have, but from what I was reading, there are tons and tons of them, so that's not something I should be worried about. So am I still gonna be afraid? Absolutely. I watched Titanic, didn't we all? But I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go. Because it's something that I think is gonna be really great, and my boyfriend loves it, and he wants to go, and I'm not gonna hold him back from that amazing experience because I'm afraid. But I'm gonna go with my breathing techniques, and I'm gonna go with my relaxation techniques, and I'm gonna go with my comfort items. I'm gonna go with my Dramamine, but I'm still gonna go. Is the point. Okay, safety tip number 9 is for international travel. I've never been international, but I am planning a trip for Spain next year. So some things that I'm planning ahead is knowing some basic. I'm anticipating a small language barrier. Some places in the world I would expect a large language barrier, but Spain I don't expect a huge one. I expect lots of people to occasionally speak English, so. And just Spanish to English is very close already, that a lot of the words are almost the same. But I still want to make sure I know things like help, which I do, hospital, police, a couple words that you want to have maybe on a list if you can't remember them. Just so if something happens and you need to yell for help, you know what word you should be yelling, okay? Also, 911 internationally is not a thing. They have their own versions. In the European Union, it's 112. So in Spain, if I have an emergency, I call 112. That also works in Russia and at least some of Asia. I think in the UK, though, you call 999. Being that they're an island, I think they have their own thing. But I could be wrong. I've never been to the UK. But in Germany, if you need the police, you call 110. In Japan, the police is 110, but the ambulance is 119. So, just know these things wherever you're going. If you would have an emergency for some reason, at least know what phone number you're supposed to call, okay? And tip number 10, health issues. Yeah, especially if you're not going to some of the more modern first world places, you might be a little concerned about what you're eating and drinking, mostly. I have a water filter. I use it for backpacking mostly, but you can use it for travel also. Just it's really small and lightweight. That's why I use it for backpacking. You just fill your bag up, and then you squeeze the water into your cup. It's easy. Super great. It does not work for viruses, though. So it works for most bacteria and parasites because they're large enough to be filtered out. Viruses are not, so it's not going to work for that. And even though malaria is a parasite, it's a blood parasite, so this isn't gonna help me with malaria. But there are pills you can take before, during, and after going to a place that's known to have malaria. So a great reference for this is the CDC. You can find local travel medicine clinics on the CDC website, and they're the ones that specialize in in those sort of travel things, telling you what you should be precautioned with, and making sure you're getting things like malaria pills and, you know. So, CDC, you can go find it there. Also, I took an entire parasitology class to work in the lab, and I never eat anything that's not cooked. Vegetables out sometimes, but you have to wash them. Oh my gosh, parasites are everywhere. I really am looking forward to one day going to Japan and trying all the raw fish. But I am also terrified of parasites. So currently I cook everything. But definitely talk to your doctor. And there are other water treatment pills. This is a filter, so this is a physical water treatment. But there's also chemical treatments that are safe to drink. There's iodine tablets. Yeah, there's lots of other options that you can look into if that's something you're worried about. For my needs, this currently works. And I recommend having a first aid kit. It doesn't have to be big. You can get little tiny travel versions. Some basic things that I feel you should have in them are something for fever and inflammation, so some Advil, some Tylenol. Something for an upset GI, especially if you do end up eating or drinking something that your system's not super happy about. Maybe throw some Pepto in there or some antacids. I get allergies, so I always have to have some Allegra. Something for itches, whether you get rashes or stings or just sunburn. Have something to soothe and cool the skin. Some type of antibiotic ointment. You don't have to get a tube. They come in little packets like alcohol pads. So they pack up super small and easy. You should have something to clean it with, like alcohol pads, maybe. Tweezers, scissors, and obviously some band-aids or something like that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a whole big kit. You can get little travel size ones, but these are things that I like to keep in mind personally. Okay, so I have a bonus tip. Oh, I love bonuses. Anti-theft consideration if you're afraid of things like pickpockets and robs. Yeah. So how do I say this without making people scared? There's definitely, like, I don't lock my car doors a lot of times because I don't keep anything in the car that can be robbed that's worth stealing, unless they're gonna steal literally like the chairs or something, at like unbolt things. And the car itself, I don't put my purse in it. I don't keep anything valuable in the car, and I don't lock my doors. And the reason I do this is because if I'm backpacking, it's sad, but there's a lot of places that are known to have car break-ins, and you come back and your windows are smashed, and you might just go for an hour and you come back and your windows are smashed. There's lots of accounts for this. It's sad and unfortunate, but in order to prevent having my windows smashed, I put the windows up, but I don't lock the car. Also, if you're gonna go in a city or something, wear your bag cross body. I don't wear just a strap on my shoulder because somebody can run past and grab it. Wear it cross body so they can't just grab it. If you're wearing a backpack, maybe put your little chest strap on, like little. I always feel like such a dork when I do it, but that's okay. I embrace dork life 100%. That's me. And I don't like to keep my cell phone. I haven't heard of this in the US, but I've heard of it occasionally abroad. where people snatch your cell phone right out of your hand. I don't like to keep my cell phone where somebody else can grab it. I like to keep it like in a front pocket versus a back pocket, or actually tucked in my fanny pack or something. Yes, I have a fanny pack. I'm not ashamed at all. It's actually, I use it instead of a purse a lot of times. It's really convenient for going putt-putting or something. Okay, that was my bonus tip. On to gadgets. So I've got 5 gadgets and a bonus tip for you. And all of these gadgets are on Amazon. I don't personally have any of them. I feel fairly safe. But if you don't feel safe and you have some concerns, and these are things that can make you feel more comfortable going out and traveling, then by all means, they're all fairly cheap. First thing is a wallet with blocking capabilities. Okay, so I went to the farmer's market a couple weeks ago, and one of the new phones doesn't have to have a chip reader or anything plugged into it. The phone itself, his phone itself, you just tapped it with your card and it took the payment. Okay, so now that I know there are phones that can do that, it might be worth getting a little wallet that has blocking capabilities so that people can't just go around and tap your wallets and take your money. And these wallets have been out for years and years, so it's nothing new, but the phone that has the tap capabilities is new. And I found one of those wallets for only $40 on Amazon. Also, they have keychain sized sirens with strobe lights. So if you like to walk alone at night or whatever, you kind of pop it up, that activates the siren, and then it has a strobe light, so it would be sort of like you think maybe somebody's following you and you're really uncomfortable, or you've made a couple turns and you know they're following you. You pop the strobe light and you hit them with the strobe light. Okay, so just $29 on Amazon. Portable door locks. This is something I've thought about getting. So they fit over the latch part of the door. So you've got the handle and you've got the little thing that sticks out of the door that goes in the hole, and like actually the latch part. I don't know my lock terminology. I apologize for that, but so this gadget, it fits over the latch part on the door, and then it has a second part that kind of jams it against the door. So basically it's like a portable deadbolt. It's kind of like a portable deadbolt. $12 on Amazon. Okay. So what's great about those, the old it prevents things like the old credit card trick where you just kind of swipe the credit card and pop it open, which some doors already have safety features that can't allow people to do that, but other doors do not. Fourth gadget is a door alarm. Actually, fourth gadget and fifth gadget are both door alarms, but two different kinds. They have door alarms that are battery powered, and they're both battery powered. They hang on the doorknob, and they have prongs that get slid in between, like where the latch goes. And when the door is opened, the alarm goes off. And what's great about this one is it works for windows too. Okay, you can also put this little prong in a windowsill, and if the window's opened, it'll go off too. $16. And then there's a door chuck. The chucks are like square things that the door opens and hits the chuck. Usually you use them to keep the door open. If you have a door that automatically swings closed, you would chuck the door open. But this one has an alarm built in, and so you use it at night or whenever. Use it during the day if you want. Have it right against the door so when they open the door, they hit it and it sends off an alarm. It alarms them. $10. So they all have their pros and cons and downsides. The downside to this one would be if you have a door that has any kind of lip under it that they can see, things like that. I've seen also kind of like ram bars where you put it under the doorknob and you run it down to the floor, and so they can't push the door open because you've got it jammed. But if you've got any kind of room under the door that they can put something under it, they can knock that stuff away. So the one that hangs on the doorknob obviously can't be knocked away. And I have a bonus for you. It's not a gadget, it's free, but I saw this once for hotel rooms. If you have the hotel style door handle where it turns like this, they roll up a washcloth or a small hand towel and they just kind of wedge it between the doorknob and the door. And why they do that is because if somebody has a hanger and they're trying to go under your door and pop your door open, they can't get a grip on the doorknob because you've got a towel back there. So that one's free because the hotel room gives you the towel. And like I said, I don't have any of these. I feel pretty safe generally, but for less than $20, if it gives you peace of mind, I'm giving you all the permission in the world today to buy your peace of mind. It's okay. So the last thing before we take our pledge is I have some scripture verses. If you're not religious and you want to check out at this point, come back in 5 minutes, we'll take the pledge. But these are things that generally I feel pretty safe because I know that there's a higher power with me watching over me, so I generally just feel very safe. So a couple of verses that might help you is Psalm 23:4. Psalm 23 verse 4. And I'm sure everybody has already heard this, it's so popular. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Beautiful verse. We hear it all the time at funerals. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. For anybody who didn't catch that, that's Jesus. The righteous right hand is Jesus. But how powerful is that? Don't be dismayed. I'll strengthen you. I'll help you. I'll uphold you. It doesn't get better than that, really. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So isn't that nice? There's nowhere we can go that we don't take this protection with us. Don't be afraid, don't be discouraged, be strong and courageous. Man, those are words to live by. Psalm 27:1. Who doesn't love a good psalm? The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my stronghold, is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Really though, sometimes I feel a little more badass than I probably should. Especially when I tell people I want to go to Spain. A lot of people who have been abroad a lot always tell me, don't tell them you're American, pretend you're Canadian. And I'm like, first off, I can't lie, so I would not be capable of doing that. And second off, I feel like if I tell them I'm American, yeah, they might be a little meaner to me, but they won't mess with me, right? Like, Americans are just meaner, aren't we? I don't know. Just a little humor there. Makes me feel kind of safe, though. Like I said, I feel personally a little more badass than I probably have a right to. Alright, the fifth and last scripture here is my personal favorite. I live by it. It's literally almost every day of my life I'm thinking about the scripture at some point, because I use it for the big things and the little things, you know. I just get anxiety and I want to talk to somebody. And this scripture comes into play for me. It's 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us not a spirit of fearfulness, but of power and love and discipline. And that is my favorite of all time. Words to live by for sure. And it is. They're the words that I live by. That I will not have a spirit of fear, but I am powerful, and I am capable of love, and I am loved, and I'm capable of discipline. Okay, so those were biblical references, but I have a bonus for you if you're not biblical. I have William Shakespeare for you. William Shakespeare, from his work Julius Caesar, said, "A coward dies 1,000 times before his death, but the valiant tastes of death but once." Chills, really. Isn't that powerful? Love it. Okay, so we're at 57 minutes. Wow, good timing there. Let's take the pledge real quick. Because now you know all the reasons why you should not be afraid, right? Let me make sure you can see it. Alright. I pledge I will not let fear stop me. I will live the life my destiny calls me to live. I am worthy of my dreams, and I will live my dreams, even if that means at times having to do it afraid. I will not let fear stop me. Okay, I hope you heard that. I just realized I was covering my microphone when I said that. But that's the pledge. Sign it. Write it down and sign it. And put your hand on something important to you, maybe your heart. Because we don't want to live lives of fear, right? For what? Just to die 1,000 deaths, in the words of William Shakespeare. So that's fear, or that's some quick points on fear. And next week we're going to cover inexperience, how to overcome inexperience if you just don't know how to get started and you're at a total loss. There were some things I skipped over this week because they relate more to inexperience. So we'll hit them next week. And if you have more to throw in, more safety tips, any special gadget you have, anything that's really helped you feel safe, throw it in there. Throw it in the discussion. We're all here to help and be a community. Anything else I need to say real quick? No, I think that's it. Alright. See you guys next week. Love you. Peace out.